This essay example, as well as thousands of others, is available in text format on our website for free and without registration. Simply Google Ivy Panda Free Essays.
Lynn Nottage's play Poof presents a short but highly expressive depiction of the life of a married woman whose husband does not appreciate her and abuses her frequently. There are two such female characters in the story, and their attitudes toward family problems are quite similar. Maybe Lorene and Florence treat their problems a little differently depending on the fact of having children or the degree to which the husband's attitude can be tolerated. However, the two women have mostly common views on marriage and the role of respectful relationships in it. Nottage funnily describes these opinions with the use of elements of fiction. The general opinion about women and their place in the family differs from Lorene's and Florence's perceptions. Lorene is tired of constantly being abused by her husband, both physically and verbally. However, when she supposedly kills him by accident, she feels remorseful and scared. She even tells her friend not to wrinkle the jacket because that's his favorite jacket, although it is apparent that Samuel will not need it any longer. However, at the same time, Lorene feels relieved when her husband is dead. She has suffered too much and for too long, and she feels like a ton of bricks has been lifted from her shoulders. Meanwhile, Florence considers that there is a degree of suffering that one can stand, and she thinks that her limit has not been reached yet. She admits that Edgar has never done her the way Samuel did Lorene, but he sure did take the better part of her life. The two women agree on their opinion about friendship, and they cherish their relations despite their husband's interference and the fact that they forbid their wives to communicate. The offended Florence calls Lorene "you bitch" when she reminds her of the pact they made about killing their husbands together when things got real bad. The woman is disappointed that her friend has betrayed their arrangement, even though Lorene's actions were unintended. Friendship seems to mean much for females in such depressing living conditions. Both Lorene and Florence suffer ill treatment and abuse from their husbands, so they understand one another keenly. Thus, after all, Florence relieves her disappointment and agrees to visit Lorene later to spend some time with her and make her feel better. Both characters admit that the generally accepted place of a wife in marriage is the silent spot on the couch and a pleasant smile warming the heart. However, both women consider this view wrongful and unfair. Lorene and Florence are only two of many females who suffer from continuous negative attitudes and abuse. In her play, Nottage employed humor to discuss complicated and dramatic issues prevailing in family life. Despite some minor differences in views, both characters have similar opinions on the role of wives in marriage and consider that husbands should be more supportive and less cruel. Fortunately, the play's major theme does not have the same level of actuality now as it did at the time Nottage created it. However, everyone needs to be cautious of the negative aspects of marriage and husband-wife relationships to be able to prevent them. Loyal support and mutual understanding can serve as catalysts for improving people's relationships and lives. If you want to find more works like this essay on women, friendships, marriage in Lynn Nottage's Poof, head over to ivypanda.com. It has a collection of free samples with thousands of submissions covering virtually all academic subjects. No registration required to access it.